Welcome back to our channel. Find hidden gems in your pocket, subscribe for rare coin reveals. The year is 1985. The world is immersed in the cultural and political landscape of the mid-1980s. President Ronald Reagan is serving his second term, America is experiencing an economic boom, and the world is watching as new technologies like personal computers and mobile phones begin to shape the future. It was a time of change and innovation, and yet, amid the hustle and bustle of the 1980s, something seemingly small was quietly circulating across the country. A coin that many would regard as insignificant. But for those who knew where to look, this coin, the 1985 one dime, was far more than just loose change. At first glance, the 1985 dime might seem like any other coin. It was, after all, part of the standard dime series that had been circulating in the United States for decades. With its recognizable silver color, the profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, and the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch design on the reverse, this coin was a staple in everyday American life. The design itself had been in place since 1946, honoring the legacy of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, who led the country through the Great Depression and World War II. But as we know, in the world of coin collecting, not all dimes are created equal. And the 1985 one dime is a perfect example of how even the most ordinary-seeming coins can have extraordinary value if you know where to look. The history behind the dime is rich, with the coin's original design dating back to the 1790s. However, by the time the 1980s rolled around, the dime had become an iconic part of American currency. In fact, the Roosevelt dime design, which was introduced in 1946, had become one of the most recognized and enduring designs in U.S. coinage history. The choice of Roosevelt as the face of the dime was a tribute to his leadership during some of the country's most challenging times. But as much as the design of the 1985 dime seemed ordinary, this coin was about to take a detour from its typical trajectory. Let's take a moment to understand how the 1985 dime came to be. In 1985, the United States Mint was continuing its routine production of coins. The U.S. Mint, the institution responsible for creating American coinage, produced billions of coins every year to meet the demands of the nation's economy. Among these, dimes, like the 1985 one dime, were one of the most commonly minted coins, circulated regularly and used for everyday transactions. In 1985 alone, the U.S. Mint produced more than 1 billion dimes, making it a coin that most people would have encountered at one point or another. However, as is often the case with coins, small mistakes and anomalies in the minting process can lead to extraordinary discoveries. In the world of numismatics, the smallest errors in the minting process can turn an ordinary coin into a highly valuable collector's item. And this is where the 1985 one dime enters the story. While most of the dimes struck in 1985 were produced to the usual standards, a small number of them were struck with a rare error, a die break or die crack, that occurred during the minting process. These errors are the result of wear and tear on the dies used to stamp the design onto the coins. When a die begins to crack or break, the resulting coins may display unusual marks, lines, or distortions. In some cases, the cracks can create dramatic features, such as extra markings on the coin, or even affect the clarity of the image itself. One of the most significant features of the 1985 one dime coin with this particular error is the presence of what's known as the reverse die crack. A reverse die crack occurs when a crack develops in the die that strikes the reverse side of the coin, which, in the case of the 1985 dime, can be seen on the torch and branches design. This error is relatively rare, and it's these small, unexpected details that attract the attention of collectors, who are always on the lookout for unique or flawed specimens that could hold greater value. The presence of this reverse die crack, while subtle to the casual observer, makes the 1985 one dime with the error much more valuable than its face value. In fact, die cracks, when discovered and graded properly, can turn a standard coin into a rare treasure in the numismatic world. But as is often the case with such errors, the real magic lies in the rarity of the coin. This error was not widespread, only a limited number of dimes were struck with this reverse die crack, and that rarity has made the coin all the more valuable. But the 1985 one dime coin doesn't just stand out for its die crack. Over the years, it has become sought after for a variety of reasons. Its association with Franklin D. Roosevelt, one of America's most beloved presidents, adds to its allure. The design itself is iconic, and the coin's historical significance plays a role in its rising value. But it's the rarity of the die crack that really makes the 1985 dime so valuable. Now, if you're wondering just how much a 1985 one-dime coin could be worth, you might be surprised. While the average 1985 dime in circulation holds its standard face value of 10 cents, the error coins with the reverse die crack have seen their value soar into extraordinary territory. Depending on the quality and condition of the coin, a 1985 dime with this particular error can be worth a staggering $145,000. Yes, you heard that right, $145,000 for a single dime. This value is based on the rarity of the coin, its historical significance, and its status as one of the most desirable error coins in modern U.S. numismatics. Coins like this one, with their unique characteristics and rare qualities, are highly prized by collectors and investors who specialize in error coins and rare U.S. mintages. But how did such a coin achieve this remarkable value? The answer lies in the specifics: the rarity of the die crack, the historical context of the coin, and the ever-growing interest in rare and unique coins. As with all numismatic treasures, the value of the 1985 one dime is shaped by supply and demand. Because only a small number of these coins exist in pristine condition, they are sought after by collectors who are willing to pay top dollar to add them to their collections. So, the next time you find yourself looking at a dime, especially one from the 1980s, take a moment to inspect it closely. It could very well be the 1985 dime with the rare die crack, waiting to reveal its hidden value. Who would have thought that a small, seemingly insignificant coin from the mid-1980s could be worth such an incredible amount of money? The story of the 1985 one-dime coin serves as a reminder that in the world of numismatics, even the smallest and most ordinary coins can hold extraordinary value. A coin that once passed through the hands of ordinary Americans is now a rare treasure, valued at $145,000. It's a stunning reminder of how history, rarity, and a small error can combine to make a coin not just a piece of currency, but a piece of art, and a valuable one at that. So, the next time you stumble across a 1985 dime, remember the story of this rare find. You never know, you might be holding the next great numismatic treasure in your hand. The year 2004. It was a pivotal moment in history. In the United States, the nation was on the brink of a historic election as George W. Bush faced off against John Kerry for the presidency. The economy was bouncing back after the early 2000s recession, and technology was advancing rapidly, with the first iPhone still a few years away, but the internet was already beginning to change everything about how people communicated, worked, and lived. In the midst of all this, a small, almost forgotten piece of currency was quietly circulating through pockets, purses, and change jars: the 2004 one-dime coin. A simple dime, right? It seemed like just another penny in the grand scheme of things, a small coin with little value beyond its face value of 10 cents. But like many coins throughout history, the 2004 dime has a story of its own, one that would go on to capture the attention of collectors and investors alike, transforming it from an everyday piece of change into something far more valuable. To understand the significance of the 2004 one-dime coin, we need to step back and consider the broader context of U.S. coinage. By the time 2004 arrived, the dime had been part of American currency for more than 200 years. Since its introduction in 1796, the dime had undergone a series of design changes, each marking a different chapter in the nation's history. From the early draped bust design to the iconic Mercury dime and, finally, the Roosevelt dime in 1946, the coin had become a symbol of American currency. The Roosevelt dime, which had been introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, had become one of the most recognizable and enduring designs in U.S. coinage history. Roosevelt's portrait graced the obverse of the dime, while the reverse featured the familiar image of a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbols of freedom and strength. The design was simple but powerful, and it remained unchanged for decades. But by 2004, the design of the dime was still the same, and little did people know that the coin was about to gain a new level of significance, albeit not in the way anyone might expect. While the general design of the dime had remained unchanged for nearly 60 years, one thing that had begun to shift in the world of U.S. minting was the issue of coin production. The price of metals, including silver and copper, was on the rise, and the U.S. Mint had begun exploring ways to produce coins more efficiently and with less cost. In fact, by 2004, the U.S. Mint was facing increasing pressure to produce coins with a lower cost than ever before. This led to the minting of coins like the 2004 dime using a mixture of copper and nickel, as was standard for dimes by this point. While this might seem like a minor detail, it's important to understand that the cost of materials used to produce coins, especially pennies and dimes, has been a growing concern over the years. As the prices of raw materials increased, the U.S. Mint had to adjust and consider alternative methods to keep production costs under control. Now, while the basic structure of the 2004 dime was standard, there was one very important reason this coin would become far more significant than most others: a rare, unexpected error during its minting process. As with most coins, the mint employs a carefully controlled process to strike millions of dimes every year. However, sometimes, in the precise world of coin production, things go awry. A simple mistake in the minting process, whether in the die or striking mechanism, can lead to a rare coin, one that is highly sought after by collectors, and in the case of the 2004 dime, the mistake in question was a well-known error type in numismatics: double die error. You see, a double die error occurs when a coin's design is struck multiple times, causing a doubling effect on certain parts of the coin. On the 2004 dime, this meant that certain examples were struck in such a way that the features, including the date and even parts of Roosevelt's image, appeared doubled. The error was subtle but noticeable to those who knew what to look for, and it made this seemingly standard coin far more interesting to collectors. But why does a double die error make a coin valuable? In the world of numismatics, errors like this are highly prized because of their rarity. The error occurs due to a misalignment in the minting process, often because of worn dies or a malfunction in the machinery. Because these errors are not intentional, they are far fewer in number than perfectly minted coins. This makes them rare and desirable to collectors who appreciate the uniqueness of such pieces. So, what does the double die error on the 2004 dime look like? If you inspect the coin closely, preferably under magnification, you may notice a slight doubling of the 2004 date and some of the text on the obverse of the coin. The letters and numbers might appear as though they've been imprinted a second time, creating a ghost-like effect. For some collectors, spotting this subtle anomaly is like finding a hidden treasure. As is often the case with such rare finds, the hunt for these error coins began almost immediately. Coin collectors, both amateur and professional, began searching through their change and scouring their collections for the 2004 dimes with the double die error. And once word got out that these error coins were worth more than their face value, the demand grew exponentially. Now, you may be wondering, just how much can a 2004 one dime with a double die error be worth? After all, it's just a small mistake, right? Well, the value of a 2004 dime with a double die error can be surprising. In fact, a coin in excellent condition, graded by a professional numismatic organization, can be worth as much as $125,000. Yes, you read that right, $125,000 for a single dime. So why is this simple coin worth such a remarkable sum? It all comes down to rarity, demand, and the allure of error coins in the numismatic world. Coins like the 2004 dime with a double die error are highly prized by collectors because they represent an anomaly in the production process, a unique flaw that makes the coin special and different from the millions of other dimes minted that year. The rarity of this error and the increasing demand for error coins in the market have combined to create a situation where the value of a 2004 dime has skyrocketed. The story of the 2004 one dime coin is a perfect example of how something as seemingly insignificant as a dime can hold far more value than most people would ever expect. What was once a common coin circulating alongside other pennies, nickels, and quarters has now become a rare treasure, sought after by numismatists and collectors alike. The 2004 double die dime serves as a reminder that in the world of coin collecting, even the smallest details, the faintest of errors, can turn a coin from an everyday object into a prized collector's item. And in this case, it's a reminder that an error as small as a double date can turn a 10-cent coin into a $125,000 gem.so. The next time you come across a 2004 dime, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to inspect it closely. You might be holding a rare treasure in your hands, one that could be worth far more than you ever imagined. After all, in the world of coins, you never know when the smallest of details could make all the difference.